Hi, I'm going to present an overview of a cosmology that I have been developing entitled the Existence Framework. The framework is an attempt to combine scientific and spiritual cosmologies in order to create a single vision, a single framework. The framework spans the entire evolution of the universe, from its creation to human consciousness to spiritual experience. It attempts to answer questions that science has not yet been able to answer, including what caused the Big Bang, how to reconcile general relativity with quantum mechanics, how does consciousness arise in the human brain, and questions regarding spiritual experience, including if the mystic experience is an illusion, what evolutionary advantage does it offer? And what are the dynamics of spiritual experience if indeed they are real? The framework starts with a spiritual cosmology and merges it with theories of physics, including the Big Bang theory, general relativity, and quantum mechanics. Then a spiritual psychology is merged with concepts from neuroscience, cognitive psychology, and computer science. And then spiritual revelations regarding the transcendent reality are merged with psychology and evolutionary biology. The results are three new theories. There is a theory of quantum gravity, a theory of consciousness, and a theory of spiritual dynamics. The common theme throughout is existence. Existence is a singular attribute of the transcendent infinite reality, and it serves as the core of the new theory of quantum gravity and the theories of consciousness, as well as the theory of spiritual dynamics. All these theories are interconnected. The theory of quantum gravity is used in the theory of consciousness, and the theory of consciousness is used in the theory of spiritual dynamics. I rely upon the cosmology of a modern-day spiritual master, Meher Baba, who I have been following for many years. I believe he has the most clear expressions of spiritual cosmology that I am familiar with. His cosmology is a restatement of ancient truths found in spiritual traditions, such as Vedantaism and Sufism, but told from a modern-day perspective. Meher Baba describes its transcendent reality, the reality beyond the universe, as being one, infinite, eternal existence, in which absolute unified oneness prevails. Nothing else exists. Creation of the universe begins with an impulse within infinite existence to acquire consciousness, knowledge of itself. In order to know itself, it contrasts itself to what it is not. As no other things exist, the only thing to contrast itself to is absolute nothingness. When infinite existence contrasts itself to absolute non-existence, the infinite existence immediately acquires consciousness, while the non-existence remains unconscious. The nothing takes on a reality of its own, imbibing all of the attributes of the original infinite existence. So it also seeks consciousness and replicates the creation process. And in doing so, it creates innumerable points or drops of non-existence. According to Meher Baba's cosmology, each of these points is a soul. Starting with that premise, I extend Meher Baba's cosmology by proposing that each soul has as its first manifestation in the universe a form of existence. I call those forms existence particles. So the question is, how do existence particles manifest in the physical universe? For that, I now turn to physics. I find it most interesting that Meher Baba's cosmology dovetails with the Big Bang theory, and in particular with the concept of singularity. He states that the universe emerges from the transcendent state through an own point, a finite point of non-existence. What's interesting is that the own point is identical in concept to a singularity. Now, what is a singularity? According to the Big Bang theory, a singularity is the most finite point from which the entire universe emerges. All the galaxies, space, and time of the universe is shrunken in size to a point smaller than an electron. Einstein's equations for general relativity indicate that singularities occur in two places, at the beginning of the universe and inside of black holes. At both points, his equations result in infinite space-time warping. At this extreme, Singularity, space, and time cease to exist. Everything reduces to a point of non-existence. In my framework, I propose that at the time of the Big Bang, time, space, energy, and matter emerge into existence from a singularity, and at a black hole singularity, space, time, matter, and energy vanish from existence. The notion of space, time, and matter and energy entering into existence and vanishing from existence is a radical proposition, as it is counter to the conservation of matter and energy. However, there's a precedent established in physics of virtual particles entering and exiting existence, so in fact it might not be that far-fetched. And I also propose that existence is a major component of the universe, just as time, space, energy, and matter are major components. Existence is fundamental. Nothing can exist without existence. We live in an ocean of existence, but we don't realize it because we never live in non-existence. We're like fish who don't know what water is because they've never been outside of water. If existence is a major component of the universe, what are its properties and how does it interact with other properties of the universe, particularly time and space? To get a handle on that, I turn to general relativity, and in particular to the problem of how to reconcile general relativity with quantum mechanics. Perhaps the introduction of existence can help solve that long-standing problem. To solve that problem, I researched how other major breakthroughs in physics have come about. That historical analysis revealed three basic principles common to major breakthroughs. They are the equivalence principle, the hierarchical principle, and the quantum principle. Let's look at each of these. The first is the equivalence principle. Major breakthroughs occurred when an equivalence is established between two previously unrelated phenomena. For example, Newton established an equivalence between the force causing objects to fall to the earth and the force acting on planets, causing them to revolve around the sun. This led to his theory of gravity. Faraday worked with an equivalence between electricity and magnetism. Maxwell established an equivalence between electricity, magnetism, and light, which led to his equations for electromagnetism. Einstein established several equivalences. He established an equivalence between the force acting on accelerating bodies and the gravitational force, which led to his theory of general relativity. He also found an equivalence between matter and energy, or E equals mc squared. And he found an equivalence between space and time, creating the space-time continuum. The second principle is the hierarchical principle. It states that entities previously assumed to be elementary are actually comprised of something more elementary. For example, atoms were thought to be elementary until it was discovered that they were comprised of electrons, protons, and neutrons. Protons were thought to be elementary until it was discovered that they are comprised of quarks. And the final principle is a quantum principle, which states that quantities that were once considered continuous are actually discrete, occurring in quantum packets. For example, Einstein's photoelectric effect revealed that energy that was thought to be continuous actually occurs in quantized packets called photons, and his discovery led to the formation of quantum mechanics. The problem that has challenged physics for over 100 years is how to reconcile general relativity with quantum mechanics. General relativity is a theory of gravity, and gravity is explained in terms of space-time dynamics. Quantum mechanics describes matter-energy dynamics through the Standard Model. What is sought is a theory of quantum gravity, which would explain the force of gravity in quantum terms, just like all the other forces of energy are explained by quantum mechanics. Einstein's unified field theory, string theory, and loop quantum gravity are all attempts, but not successful yet, in rectifying general relativity and quantum mechanics. I believe the introduction of existence and the application of the three basic principles can solve the problem. The first step is to apply the equivalence principle by establishing an equivalence between space-time and energy-matter. But how might they be equivalent? Well, I find that through their equivalence is found by applying the second principle, the hierarchical principle. I suggest a hierarchical arrangement in which time and space are the substance of energy and matter. And the third step is to apply the quantum principle. Time and space They become not continuous, but rather comprised of a discrete substance. What is the substance of space-time? I propose that existence is a substance of time. In fact, I propose it is the underlying substance of everything. Furthermore, just as matter and energy are quantized, so too is existence. I refer to a quantum of existence as an existence particle. Because existence particles are the composition of time and space, they themselves can have no mass, exert no force, consume no space, nor endure for any length of time. Existence particles enter into the universe and then immediately vanish. An existence particle only contains information. It's like a bit in a computer. It is either on or off. It either exists or does not exist. An existence particle be considered a quantum of existence. It could also be considered as a quantum of consciousness, or a quantum of information, or even a quantum of love. All these different descriptions are unified at this level of the universe. Where do existence particles emerge from? I propose that they are the substance which emerges from the infinite transcendent reality when the contrast between infinite existence and absolute non-existence occurs. And that forms innumerable existence particles. So now the question is, how does time form from existence? I propose that driven by an intrinsic desire to regain the original state of unity, an existence particle bonds with a partner, or a just vanished existence particle. In a bonded pair, one particle plays the role of infinite existence, and the other plays the role of non-existence. Then they flip. The existing particle turns off, and the non-existing particle turns on. They continue flipping. Each flip is a moment of time. That is, existence flips indefinitely between existence and non-existence in a bonded pair. Each flip between existence and non-existence represents a moment, a Planck moment. Innumerable moments of time are created, but there's no flow of time at this stage in the evolution of the universe. No past, present, or future is yet established. Time strings form from individual moments of time. Time is existence flowing from past to present to future. And space is a matrix of time strings. I won't go into great detail, but I want to give a quick overview showing how my theory of quantum gravity explains general relativity. The important point of this slide is to show that space can flow through space. Space moves with an object, just as water can flow through water. This explains dynamics of special relativity. In my quantum gravity theory, I propose gravity results from space flowing into negative voids similar to black holes residing inside particles of mass. Space-time vanishes in these negative voids inside these particles. And this flow warps space-time, just as described by general relativity. And although I'm not a physicist, I've done some math showing that this flow of space-time conforms with Newton's gravitational equations and Schwarzschild's radius and time dilation equations. To understand time dilation, we need to look at how photons travel in space and why the speed of light is constant. I propose that photons move along a time string 1 Planck length per Planck moment, which is one existence particle per moment. This remains true no matter how dense the space-time is. You can see the photon moving from one particle to the next. Now, general relativity reveals that time slows down in gravitational fields. In my quantum gravity theory, time slows down because space-time has greater density in areas near a center of gravity and has less density further away from a center of gravity. A photon will need to traverse more existent particles of a time string in areas of greater density than it will need to traverse in a less dense region. Thus, time runs slower the closer one is to the center of gravity. Now, let's turn our attention to human consciousness. Neuroscience is unable to explain how the brain generates consciousness. Whereas other mental phenomena such as seeing, hearing, and feeling have physical correlates, consciousness does not. For example, we see light with our eyes. and we also observe and measure light with instruments such as cameras. Likewise, we hear sound waves with our ears, which can also be measured by instruments such as microphones. But there's no way to directly observe consciousness. In other words, there are no physical correlates of consciousness, and so a new concept in physics must be introduced. Of course, I suggest that concept is existence. Although physics offers no means directly of observing consciousness, in-depth systematic exploration of the mind through meditation can lead to a direct experience of consciousness. The ultimate experience of consciousness is referred to as nirvana, or realization. Meher Baba describes nirvana as a state in which the universe ceases to exist and only consciousness remains. Consciousness is, and nothing else is. This pure state of consciousness informs us as to the nature of consciousness. It's awareness of self, or, my definition, awareness of self-existence. So in order to explain consciousness, we must explain self and existence. Therefore, the existence framework focuses on investigating how the self forms within the human mind, as well as the nature of existence and its role in the universe, which of course is explained in my theory of quantum gravity. The framework includes a cognitive model of the mind, which explains how the mind is able to perceive existence and in the process generate consciousness. The self must integrate the mind's many independent processes. For example, there are the brain's motor, olfactory, visual, and auditory, and other specialized areas. The self integrates these varying aspects of personality so that a person has one complete unified experience. Furthermore, each of the brain systems have subsystems. Thus, the brain is hierarchically structured. For example, the visual system is comprised of subsystems, the ones V1 through V5. Including all the subsystems, the sense of self can be seen as a highly integrated hierarchical system. Information flows up from lower levels of sensory input to higher level ones, and then back down. The cycle continually repeats. Each system works independently, but there's also cross-communication between the systems. I establish a bridge between this neuroscience or psychological model of mind with Meher Baba's spiritual explanations of the mind. It's also hierarchical in nature and explains the formation of the sense of self, the ego. According to Meher Baba, the ego is the integrator of experience, creating the sense of self. The structure of mind which Meher Baba reveals is based upon 7 higher levels of consciousness. These higher levels operate unconsciously in normal human activity, but are experienced by those who have advanced to higher spiritual states of consciousness. At this lowest level of this hierarchy is normal human consciousness. Higher levels of consciousness can be attained through spiritual advancement. During advancement, one's consciousness first transforms from matter into energy. With greater advancement, consciousness transforms from energy to mental experiences, thoughts, and feelings. The mental realm contains mental impressions, or in modern-day terminology, algorithms. These mental impressions are the memories of experiences. These impressions become the algorithms which control lower-level energetic desires, which in turn control lower-level physical actions. Information flows up the hierarchy from the senses up to the mental level and back down as mental algorithms control desires and actions. In brief, this is the existence framework's cognitive model. So, how does the self link with existence? I propose that just as the eye can sense photons, the brain can sense existence particles. Neuroscience is looking for a portion of the brain responsible for consciousness, but I believe consciousness is the result of the entire brain's, or perhaps the entire cortex's, activity. The brain functions as one whole integrated organ when all the various areas are integrated through the formation of the sense of self. How might the formation of the sense of self lead to the perceiving of existence? Brain waves might provide a clue. They reveal levels of consciousness. When unconscious, such as during sleep, brain waves are very slow. When awake, they are faster, and when highly active, they are at their highest frequency. Higher frequency brainwaves indicate more interconnected neural activity. In other words, brainwaves are fastest when the sense of self is at its greatest formation. The very dense interconnected complex of networks of the human cortex create a unique electronic field of waves that is not found anywhere else in nature. I propose that the highly integrated sense of self and its corresponding electronic energy, creates a void from which existence particle emerges. It's a void in space-time. Existence particles emerge from this void just as they emerge at the moment of the Big Bang. The self perceives the emerging existence particles, and consciousness is generated. The human brain replicates the original contrast between infinite existence and infinite non-existence, which created consciousness. Now, let's take a very quick look as to how this theory of consciousness can be used to form a theory of spiritual dynamics. As we have seen, the human brain recreates the universe's creation process. Existence emerges from a singularity, just like at the time of the Big Bang. And that existence emerges from the transcendent infinite existence. The brain's connection with infinite existence gives humans their spiritual nature. It is interesting that Buddhism stresses the importance of connecting with the void, and is the void in which existence emerges. And Meher Baba stresses the importance of realizing the nothingness or non-existence of the universe. It's through the void that our consciousness is generated, and it's through consciousness that it's possible to know, see, and become one with infinite existence, or God. So, this has been a very quick overview of the existence framework, which we see spans from infinite existence to the creation of the universe, to human consciousness, to spiritual experience. For those who are interested in knowing more, I direct you to my website, richbloom.net, and there you'll find articles, other presentations, a link to my book, The Architecture of the Universe, as well as an email link to contact me. Thank you.